on there. You just can't see it. So, top right. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I'm here now. Yes, yeah. I'm sorry, and I can't change the name. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was on.
Hello.
Hello. Can I propose Pauline Jorgensen, please?
I'll second that, thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Lucianne, and welcome to the committee. I think to start off with, it's probably worth the committee members introducing themselves. So, Beth first.
I'm Beth Rowland. I'm the elected member for Woodley Southlake, and I chair the licensing and appeals meetings.
Rebecca.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Margetts. I'm the Borough Councillor for Finchampstead.
And I'm Pauline Jorgensen. I'm the Borough Councillor for Hillside in Earley. So can I ask if anybody in this subcommittee has got any interest to declare?
No.
I haven't. No, Rebecca? No, okay. Right, so the process is that only information relevant to the representations can be considered, and that must be relevant to the licensing objectives. So just to make sure everybody understands that, and the 4 objectives for licensing are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. So we'll get the licensing officer to introduce the hearing report, and then we'll ask questions about the licensing officer's report. Other parties can then ask questions about the licensing officer's report, but only if they've submitted comments to the application. The applicant can then present the application, including any witnesses. We can ask questions about the application. Other parties can ask questions about the application. The licensee can present their case, and then the panels can ask questions of them, and then we will consider what the conclusion is. Okay? Right. So over to the licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. I think Rachel's just got a hand raise, a legal advisor.
Yeah. I just wanted to confirm, and I'm looking, this is for the benefit of everybody, this is an application brought by Mr. Dursley, who is here, and others who are listed on the application. And I just wanted to clarify that the only people able to speak are those people listed on the application because they're applicants, and also anyone who's made a representation during the consultation period. So that would be, for example, any individual, and also Kate Warren, who sits here on behalf of ASB, I think in Chris Long's place. But can I just verify, I'm just looking at my list, and I'm sorry, I'm going to just ask people you know, who they are and clarify. So Miss Erdwin, you're not an applicant, are you?
No.
So you won't be, are you just here to watch today?
No, I'm a resident. I would like to speak.
So I don't think you made a representation during the consultation period. This is what I'm trying to clarify before we get into people speaking, whether you're either, you've made a representation or you're an applicant. So
I'd like to speak about this, please.
but the problem is, I don't think you're listed on the list of applicants and you didn't make a representation. Unless any,
Okay.
okay, but you can stay in here and watch because it's a public hearing. So I just wanted to clarify kind of who was doing what. Charlotte, you're the respondent, aren't you? Mr. Rhymes, are you listed as an applicant?
Yes.
Can I just clarify what name you'd have been listed as an applicant under?
Either Bill RMS or Bill Rhymes through Dan, who was with us this
I've
morning.
got William R. Bryony, but I haven't got a Bill Rhymes.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Yes.
So,
yes.
so your proper name is William R. Bryony.
William Rhymes is my proper name. I don't know how it's got changed like that. It should have done, but that is me, definitely.
Okay. Heather, you're. Sorry.
Management plates and leave, please.
Sorry, who's speaking at the moment?
I've got an officer from the building next to me telling me I've got to leave. It's too loud.
How can it be too loud? It's only a meeting. And
The running of inside in registration.
Shall we just take a few minutes while we sort out some logistics?
Yeah.
We do need to just cover the applicants and the representations. I'm not sure how far we've got on that.
So if Beth wants to step off for a second, I can carry on with this because it's not a part of the meeting which requires members to be here.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But we can't.
Do come back, Beth.
Yeah, we can't do anything else without Beth. So just to explain, we need to be quorate, which means we need to have 3 members to make a determination. Heather, I think, are you Heather Leisure? Heather?
I will help.
Sorry, I couldn't get my microphone unmuted.
That's
Yes,
all
that's
right.
correct.
Perfect. So you're on the list and you can speak if you wish to. Mary Kenny, you're on the list and you can speak. And I don't think we have anybody else. And I think we have a written representation from somebody who is on the list, Luciani, who can't attend today, but they are an applicant. That's absolutely, that can be read out if the person is on the list and could have
Rachel.
attended. Yes.
Hi, I have 2 other neighbours who weren't able to make it at last minute that have submitted emails to me. I'm happy to forward those on as well.
Well, hang on, are they on the list?
They are indeed.
Well, that's fine. You can read them out then, I think is the best thing to do, because if they were here, they would be allowed to speak.
Great,
So
thank you.
Rachel, can we just clarify who isn't here and isn't going to speak? What about Uma Mahesh?
No.
Right, okay. Mary Kenny's here. Kevin Juba?
No, he was trying to get in. I'm not sure if he's been able to make it.
Okay, Heather Leisure's here. Sarah Codling?
I have a written statement from her.
Okay. Jag Faragathara?
No.
Jane Kant?
I have a written statement from her.
Okay. Ollie Wilson?
No.
William Bryony. I think it must be William R and Bryony something. It's probably, and it's been garbled. I don't know if there's a Bryony. So William R is here anyway, so that's fine. Good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to clarify because it could get awfully messy.
It will do, don't worry. Right, shall we let Kieran speak as the licensing officer?
Okay,
You're muted. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Let's bring up the report. Okay, so under section 51 of the Licensing Act, that provides for any person to call a review of the premises licence. And the purpose of this report today is to provide relevant information for the subcommittee to consider and determine the application from Mr. D. Dursley and others for the review of the premises licence at the Swan at 3 Mile Cross. Determination of this application. Members of the subcommittee are requested to determine the application in accordance with section 52 of the Licensing Act, where you have regard to the review application itself, the representations that have been received, and the requirements to promote the 4 licensing objectives. As we've covered early this morning, customarily what we would find is that there is a one application and then often several representations. But as your legal advisors given indication that we have effectively a group application that's been made, and where those names have been identified on the list, as it were, then they're the applicants and have the ability to speak at the hearing. In terms of the representations, I'll come onto that later, but effectively there's only been one actual representation received, and that's from Workington Borough Council's environmental protection team, the ASB team. So in terms of the options for this application on determination, the following options are open to the subcommittee. You may modify conditions of the licence, either permanently or for a period not exceeding 3 months. You may exclude licensable activities from the scope of the licence permanently or not exceeding 3 months. You may even remove the designated premises supervisor. You could suspend the licence, revoke the licence, or you could issue formal warnings to the DPS and or premises licence holder, or indeed, following the hearing, you could take no action. The premises licence itself is for the Swan on Basingstoke Road, 3 Mile Cross. The designated premises supervisor for this licence is Miss Charlotte Grant, who's joined on the call today, or on the meeting, virtual meeting today, and the licence holder is Faulty Taverns Limited. The application for the review of the licence was submitted by Mr. Daniel Dursley and others, and that's attached in the committee paperwork in the pack as Appendix B. The grounds for the review of the licence relate to licensing objectives. They relate to the prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, public safety and protection of children from harm. The application is therefore valid. The application itself, it requests for the following matters to be considered. And this has been taken from the application included within the report to highlight the 4 areas that have been brought forward as part of the application. So if consideration is requested for an enforced removal of the bus from the premises, to exclude glass from being used outside on the premises, to limit a location where external amplified or acoustic music can be played. The applicant leads with, this should include any other areas, any other events where large groups of people are congregated, and this should also be as close to the pub as possible, not free to be put anywhere within the property boundary. There's a request to review the hours that music can be played outside due to the proximity proximity to residential properties. And then the 4th point is consideration for appropriate supervision from staff to maintain the garden areas, closing of areas directly affecting neighbours, and appropriate hours to reduce antisocial behaviour from occurring. So effectively, it's mainly the external of the premises that are highlighted as matters for being considered. In terms of the consultation, there's obviously a statutory consultation for any review application. And as part of that consultation, one of our licensing officers placed several blue notices up at the premises. And we have attached the photographs of the notices at Appendix C. We also include the responsible authorities. So all the responsible authorities are included as part of the consultation. And we did receive a representation from Mr. Chris Long, ASB officer at Workington Borough Council. That's attached in the report as Appendix D. And then today, I believe we've got Ms. Kate Warren representing the ASB service, who can take questions on the representation that's received from our ASB team. No other representations were received. In terms of your legal considerations, they're included within the report for your context. But just as a reminder, conditions, they may only be attached to a premises licence where they are deemed appropriate and for the promotion of licensing objectives. They must be proportionate and they can't duplicate any existing provisions contained in other legislation. Justifications behind a refusal or attachment of conditions that must be given. The subcommittee is advised that any findings on any issues of fact should be on the balance of probabilities, and any decision be based on the individual merits of the application. The subcommittee, in arriving at its decision, must have regard to the relevant provisions of the national guidance, our own statement of licensing policy, and reasons should be given for any departure of this. And then, of course, there is a right of appeal to a magistrate's court within 21 days from the date the applicant is notified of the decision of the licensing subcommittee. It's a relatively short report. We effectively have a group application with 4 mattered areas for discussion and consideration, and then a representation which carries information from our ASB team. That's the extent of the material you have before you. I'm happy to take any questions, but that concludes the report for this morning.
Thank you very much, Kieran. Before I hold it open, I'd just like to ask one question myself. Could you just explain what the current license covers in terms of both location and site?
Yeah,
what are they allowed to do where?
So I've included a copy of the current license in the in the application pack. I believe it's most activities are until midnight through the week, and then at 1 AM when it gets to the weekend, so Friday, Saturday.
Sorry, I wasn't clear with the question. It wasn't the hours I was interested in, it was where they're allowed to do them. So are they allowed to sell alcohol outside? Are they allowed to consume or sell food and drink in the bus, all that sort of stuff?
I understand. Okay, so within the committee pack, there's a plan, and that plan is the area that's licensed. But
so the garden isn't licensed and the bus isn't licensed.
It's best for me to just expand on the answer. I mean, in short, the answer is yes. It's not. But the reality is, in terms of how the licensing framework applies, is that there'll be the premises license for the premises itself, and then where the sale of alcohol, the alcohol stored, and where the sale is appropriated to the contract, that's effectively the bar area behind the bar. Now, if they were to have a bar outside in the beer garden and store alcohol within the beer garden and effectively set up a new bar, then they would need to do a full variation to the application. That would require a new license application. But if it's a case that the alcohol is stored within the pub itself and there's a use of the beer garden and orders are taken from the beer garden and the alcohol is brought out, as we see in most pubs, that's licensed. That's a legitimate license. And where you've got the regulated entertainment, so your live music and recorded music, we've had swaves of deregulation on that. So obviously the license itself gives the license holder until midnight and 1 AM for what would be like internal for the premises. But because the beer garden is classed as a working area, there's a workplace exemption which comes from the Live Music Act, and so that there can be entertainment outside. I think it's for up to 200 people, and that's effectively deregulated. Now we do have a review application that's brought. This is a review application, and because we've now got a review application, you may consider certain conditions or hours relating to the outside area, but that wouldn't have been part of the original license agreement because it's deregulated.
So just to be clear, are they allowed to play music outside?
Yes, they are. They're not breaking any licensing rules or by that. However, if now it's obviously on a balance of civil probabilities and you have evidence before you from our ASB team, and you'll hear the applicant speak, and you'll also hear from the license holder, but there is ability to consider appropriate conditions for the external side of the premises. As it stands right now, it is legitimate. They're not breaching any conditions, and effectively there's not any regulation over the external premises, which is how it should be, basically, in terms of the national guidance. But as we're now in a review situation, that's going to open the conversation up, and the subcommittee. So the start report, you leading from no further action to putting conditions on and suspensions. This now leads, it opens for your determination.
So final question from me, Kieran. Does that mean that you could actually use the garden for entertainment and music over longer hours than the building?
No. As it stands right now, under the Deregulated Live Music Act, it would have to end at 11 p.m. So the deregulation is not like a blanket deregulation. There's a cut off at 11 p.m. So it's 11 p.m. Does have an ingrained reasonability, but there's the deregulation applies to that. You've also got a hand raised from our legal advisor as well.
Yeah,
I just wanted to expand on the chair's question just to bottom something out. The current conditions attached to the licence are at odds with that because they require the premises to be effectively just getting to the right part, which is why, yes, no noise. No noise after, well, all external doors and windows to be closed after 11 o'clock. So I suppose that sits in with the 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
But staff are to monitor external areas from 10 o'clock. And
so that wouldn't technically apply, but it could be endorsed because it's deregulated right now.
Yeah, which element wouldn't apply? That
so for the external checks, if it's relating to the external checks are for music, then that wouldn't apply because the conditions are effectively deregulated because of the Live Music Act. However, we're now in review, and the subcommittee may take a decision to apply that as a condition or another. But as it stands, there aren't conditions that would apply to the external area, which are the four points.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Would any other members? Oh, sorry. Did you want to say anything else, Kieran? Sorry, pardon me.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Would any other members of the committee like to ask any questions?
A hand up from Beth, I think.
Go on, Beth. Yeah. Sorry, they're very small. I can't see them very well.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question about where the bus is positioned on the outside premises and what regulations that, if anything, brings with it with regard to the houses that are close by.
I think that's covered within our ASB officers report. It may be worthwhile hearing from them later on when they make the representation and having a question to them.
Yeah, that's fine, Kieran. Thank you.
Anybody else?
No, you asked my questions, Pauline. Thank you.
Sorry, Rebecca. Right. So I think now, and the legal officer can help me, or Lucianne can help me, we can open the licensing officers to questions from anybody else. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else like to ask any questions? Who's on the list?
Got a hand raised from Charlotte,
yes,
I think.
Yeah. Charlotte, would you like to?
It's not really asking a question. I just want to make a statement. Actually,
you'll get to make a statement later.
But just
of your own.
To the bus, it's not actually
okay,
used and it's locked. So there's no food or alcohol at all. It's a locked bus. It's not being used at all for any of that. I just wanted to clarify that there's no food being served in there. There's no alcohol being served. It's a bus from a school. It is just presently just there. I just wanted to let everyone know.
That's helpful. Thank you, Charlotte. Anybody else like to ask the licensing officer any questions? Can't see anybody. Right. So can I ask the applicant to make his presentation? I think it's Mr. Dursley.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
There's not much really to add. I think that the representation was made and the points that I've listed are collective concern over the last 18 months, there has been engagement with the council and the licensee in terms of licence conditions that were granted. It is my opinion that whilst some of the outdoor activity has been deregulated, that a kind of one licensing condition fits all is inappropriate, and this has led to a series of challenges for the local residents. So whilst I have not disputed that the licensing activities are within the licensing condition, that's the very nature, I think, of the point of this meeting, that it needs to be pulled back, looking at the geography and the people that are have been historically regularly impacted by the outdoor activities. Also, no comments have been added or any information have I been provided that activities within the building have caused issues. It's solely the outdoor due to the proximity of people's houses and gardens.
And is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this point, no. I do have some questions for Chris Long and his report, but I'll wait until that's presented.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to ask Mr. Dursley any questions? Beth? Rebecca?
Yeah, Mr. Dursley, you've obviously made this representation about the licence. So obviously it's about what's going outside. Can you just give us a bit more of a detailed description of what is the problem with what's happening outside, so the committee can really understand? It would be useful if you could give us some more information.
Yeah.
How residents or people are seeing the bus being used, or some of the comments that have been made in the pack. Could you elaborate?
Okay, yeah. So the use of the pub has obviously changed in the last 18 months from being quite a quiet village pub, and I think it definitely increased in terms of the outdoor activity and events, and my understanding is there an outside bar in the car park. I think initially where a lot of the complaints came from, there was a lot of activity and events listed on a weekend where amplified loud music and large crowds were appearing. Some of those events went on all day into the evening. There's been occasions where bands were playing incredibly loud music till 11 o'clock and later. The appearance of the bus, I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that was, but the proximity of where the bus has been parked is really encroaching on several people's garden area. Now, I do understand that the purpose of the bus has not been announced, and essentially it was locked, which I was reassured to, but there have been several instances where children and teenagers have been able to get into the bus and get onto the top floor. That evidence was sent to the ASB team, so they were able to verify the integrity of that information. And my understanding is that the people on this call, as and when they get to speak, will be able to verify that. The going and coming back in terms of what the purpose of the bus is and whether it's even legally parked there has been a bit confusing, but the report lists that it's chattel, meaning that it's just parked there. I think whatever the intention for it, it needs to be, from my perspective of where I live, it should be moved. It's unsightly. It obviously causes light issues, and it has been a source of antisocial behaviour, and due to the proximity to where that is parked versus the actual licensed building, it doesn't seem to be that that area of the car park is managed. So it's led to people congregating in front, behind it, obviously climbing in and out of it. And that's created obviously noise issues and further complaints due to it being directly outside our living room window and also a bedroom window. It's worth mentioning that the licensee did paint some of the windows on the top of the deck, which presumably would decrease the ability of people looking in, but it hasn't increased the appearance of, you know, like a foreign object just being dumped there for no seemingly good reason.
Thank you. You just mentioned right at the beginning an outside bar. Outside bar in the car park? Right at the beginning of your statement.
Yeah, there is an outside bar, but I mean, Charlotte's the manager, should be able to verify that.
And is it used for, what's it used for?
Yeah.
Oh, is that for me? I've always had, even when I had before this, there's an outside area that has a bar. So there's an enclosed area as part of the pub that has a second bar. It is not down in the garden. It is right next to the pub. Yeah, that's always been there when I bought the lease last year. After it's been closed for 5 years, which is why there's been more activity now that it's open. So it's not gone from a quiet pub to a rowdy pub. It's gone from a closed pub to an open pub. Just would like to clarify that.
Yeah.
Can I?
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
No.
I'll
In a
wait.
minute.
Thank you.
You'll get a second. Rebecca, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Can I ask one, Mr. Dursley? You saying that they've had amplified loud music and crowds in the garden after 11 o'clock, is that true?
There has been noise well after 11 o'clock on several occasions, yes, and music that has gone on to that point. This largely the noise outside was more of a issue last year. I think there has been some improvements this year, but certainly there have been activities past that time, yes.
Yeah,
which again, from my understanding, I don't have the access to collate all this data, but my understanding is from residents, those reports were made to the ASB team on the given days that they happened.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. Have you got any questions, Beth?
Yes, please, if I may. If I could just talk about the bus and whether it actually is a movable bus. Would you be able to drive it away, or is it parked there indefinitely?
I think that's not a question for Mr. Dursley.
Oh, sorry.
It's a question for the licensee. We'll ask her later.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Dursley? Right, any other questions from anybody else for Mr. Dursley? Off you go.
Yeah, I'd like to ask one quite important question about why this review was actually bought by Mr. Dursley, because I'd like to ask you, if I'd paid the £3,000 for the plants you wanted in your garden that you've always wanted to cover the bus, if I'd actually done that instead, when I said no, I have to come up with a solution for all of your neighbours, which you didn't care about, mad. Would this have happened? Would this review have been bought? Because you'd have had the plants in your garden on my money, and then this review would not have happened. The fact that I did not pay £3,000 just so your garden could be shielded and not the rest of your neighbours, this is why this review has been bought. This is why. I'd also like more clarification about how many times you've said there's music down in the back garden, because there was one band that went on till 6, and it's all across Facebook. It's all across their social media, one band. So again, first question, would this review be happening?
We've got you, Charlotte. We got the question.
Okay.
Mr. Dursley.
Sure. So in answer to the first point, yes, the review would still happen. So when the bus was placed there on the same day, I went and spoke to the licensee as to the intention and the position. And at that time, initially, obviously I presented my worry as to the location and how, quite frankly, unsightly it was. The first thing that was discussed was at that point that the final location of that bus had not been decided, and Charlotte was very apologetic that she said that she wasn't aware that it would be arriving on that day. And the challenges, I said, was about the privacy that presented, to which she actually offered to purchase me a fence down the length of my property. Obviously, I don't know of any fence companies that would provide a 20-foot fence, and nor would it be appropriate because of the light issues. But she did suggest that I go away and get some quotes as to a way of kind of blocking certainly the living room window from the front of the bus. So I did that, and perfectly fair that she kind of obviously looked at it again and decided that a solution would need to be that she would plant the whole area of the back of the business, which is described in Chris Long's report. I obviously got a quote and messaged her back, and then essentially I felt that, you know, she had answered that and she said to leave it with her and go away. So on that basis, because of the concerns I had, I did go out and purchase some kind of ready-made shrubs which kind of blocked some of the bus, and then I've planted conifers down the rest of the garden to kind of, one, create a bit more privacy for my family in the garden area, but also in the long term to reduce some of the noise. Another part of her question, sorry, in response to the second part of her question about bands playing in the garden, my understanding this year was there was only one band played outside of the bus, which the picture of that temporary stage is also listed in Chris Long's report. In terms of the application for review, we are talking about all amplified music which was played outside, whether that be outside the pub, outside the outside bar, or wherever else it may have been played. I've not represented that every weekend they're playing it outside the bus. It just coincided that from a series of issues that were reported, it seems to be continually escalating and not de-escalating in terms of the noise issues, the frequencies, and the moving around of where the music's played from. So yes, it absolutely would be, because I think what I'm looking for, and I think what everybody else will have time to speak, is the conditions need to be reviewed based on all the evidence presented. And I think when, you know, if we're in a position where everybody knows what's acceptable and what the license can do, we'll all know a bit more about what we can expect. Whereas where there has been no restrictions, last year, more, as I said, it was very, very frequently occurring in terms of the noise. And then all the other points I've listed, evidence was asked by the ASB team as to which I've presented to them. So I hope that answers your question, Charlotte.
Thank you, Mr. Dursley. Anybody else got any questions for Charlotte? Sorry, Mr. Dursley, pardon me. No, yes, sorry, Kieran.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just raise my hand down. So as I understand it, following this, the review application, there's 4 points to the review application. Initially, it opens with a bus, but following that, there's 3 other points. And I just wanted to try and draw out some clarity on what the expectations for the review are. And I think you kind of alluded to yourself in terms of your own understanding between all parties in terms of how the venue's being managed. But we've got a question, or we've got a consideration around glass. So it's glass outside of the premises. Can you expand on why that point's been raised?
Yes, sure. So several people have reported that debris, and including glass bottles, have been thrown from the pub garden area to people's gardens. I've had my car damaged twice from what I describe as debris. Some of that was sporting equipment and other random items that have been thrown over the fences. And just from my perspective, those have been in the grassed area at the back. So I think the antisocial behaviour in my mind occurred because it was not, whether it's feasible or not, I don't know, but it's not an area of the business that was regularly being monitored. So people are congregating. And obviously it's caused concern as to having things thrown over which are potentially very dangerous. One of the measures I thought was appropriate was when people are going outside, if the restriction of any glass is used, then at least the potential danger to residents and also children using the garden areas would be dramatically reduced.
Answer your question, Kieran?
Just on that, so in summary, you're saying that that glassware has been used where it's been thrown over to your premises, or there's been debris. But just to bring
yeah,
and I understand that. There's not been any incidents of fights at the premises, or the use of glassware in terms of bottles being used in fights in the beer garden area. We don't have that. It's more because it's been thrown.
I'm not aware of any behaviour in terms of fights and glassware being used between people. It's more as, because it's so far away from the pub and it's not being managed, people are choosing to just discard their things by throwing them over fences.
Okay, so it's almost a nuisance type issue. It's almost a littering type issue with how they're discarding litter or discarding the bottles. Is that an accurate?
Yes.
I understand. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then the points that lead into it, and this is what you do keep coming back to. So we've got two other points, which are the limit of external music from the area. And I think we might be able to combine these points, because in the last point you talk about supervision, but then also revert back to the hours for the external area. So they appear to be quite closely joined. You do, when you've given your opening, you've mentioned about a difference between how it is now and how it was last year. So what was the difference between how it was last year and how it is now? What were the differences? What are the differences that have been made? Why is there a change?
Sure. So initially the amplified loud music was really loud, and I think the frequency was, as I said, almost every weekend for a period of time. The ASB team advised me that they had worked with the licensee who had moved the position of the outdoor stage, which had reduced. My point about it being better this year, absolutely, I think some of or if not a lot of the concerns have been addressed by Charlotte and or whoever else is running the business, and that's really really well appreciated and noted. I'm not aware, though, whether that is goodwill, whether that is risk of an enforcement from the ASB or the licensing committee. So it still leaves it uncertain as to where we're going to stand moving forwards. And I think that's where the concern and apprehension is. So yes, there has been an improvement, though the start of the summer, you know, in terms of some of the debris, just I want to answer that
okay.
When my car's been struck twice, I'm not suggesting this was a riot happening and grown adults were throwing bottles over. It's largely children and teenagers having access to things that they're finding on the premises. The outcome is still the same, that I've had to get the car scratched, fixed. So it's kind of the point about the glassware. I think it's a risk that's unnecessary when you have, if you look at the site map, the size of the pub versus the site there's a massive difference. So there is a lot of area which is more difficult to supervise. By putting the bus at the back, you are naturally drawing children to that as an object, and that is led to a lot of the antisocial activities going on. In terms of how it's run from near the inside or the outside bar, I can't comment on that because I've not been there to witness that. So it's really about the long end of the back of the business that doesn't seem to be you know, managed by the staff, that's leading to the congregating of people and then the activity that's occurring.
Okay, so just so I understand what's been said there, there's acknowledgement that there was levels of nuisance last year. There was intervention between the residents, the council ASB team and the license holder. Changes were made which include the location of the bar, sorry, not the bar, location of the stage, and then matters reduced in terms of complaint. And then in terms of this summer that we've just had, what are the issues of this summer? Because I'm just the reason for the line of question is to understand what your expectations are in terms of, you know, you've talked about a consideration for supervision outside and consideration for hours. What I suppose bluntly, what is your expectation for supervision and hours? What is your expectation for staff supervision and for hours outside the premises? And then how does that relate to the incidences that are recent? I understand that there's been matters, but that, you know, if there's been intervention and that's a year ago, then whether there's conditions or not, that's how things would stand. But so I suppose my question for clarity for the subcommittee here is that there are points to the review that talk about the hours of the operation for the external and then also supervision. What is your expectation of those areas?
Right, okay. In an ideal world, yeah, I think the use of glass outside needs to be removed. I think that's a safety element that's a really easy win. Secondly, the hours permitted where live amplified music and events can happen, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a weekend outside seem very reasonable. The point of the back area of the garden, there were some brief discussions, but I think we're seeking removal of the bus for the points listed as being it's a place where antisocial behaviour is being coordinated. I don't see, though I'm more than happy to be updated by Charlotte, what the point of that bus is, what the intended use is, but essentially we want the bus removed because of the reasons listed, and that's as far from my point, that's as far as I'm asking. We're not asking for complete removal of any outdoor live music. This isn't a complete condemnation of the pub's existence. We're simply stating that my feedback from the ASB team in recent conversations is they're very limited as to what can be done due to obviously the way it works. So this is where we are now at.
Understand, that's helpful, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions for Mr. Dursley? Looks like not.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, I'd like to ask a
go on.
question if I may.
Sorry, what's your name? Bill.
Bill
Sorry,
Rhymes. Bill Rhymes. Yeah, I mean, everybody in the neighbourhood wishes the pub good success. That's a fact. That's besides the point. Mr. Dursley, would you say that the bus where it is an eyesore? And would you say that it could cause mental anguish to neighbours with the bus there looking into their premises in the long term?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And
you would. I mean, I know
that's how I felt. Yes.
We're all here to get a good result for everybody.
Can I, Mr. Rhymes? This is not your slot to speak. It's your slot to ask Mr. Dursley questions.
And I did.
Okay. Do you want to say any more? Any other questions?
Yes. I'd like to ask Mr. Dursley that at the end of the day, everything seems to have transpired from the bus being where it is. So the common denominator here, or the common factor, is the bus. And number one was a question was given by the chairman about 7 items. The bus was the first thing on it. Bus out, he said. So really, is that the bottom line? That's what we're looking for, the bus out? Mr. Dursley?
Yes. So I think removal of the bus, but alongside that, I think the re-examination of the conditioned hours as to the use of outdoor music, and I think, as I said, the use of glass has caused challenges, and I think that would be very beneficial if they could use plastic vessels.
Thank you, Mr. Dursley. Any other questions from anybody?
Mr. Dursley, do you consider that we all have a duty of care for each other?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my final question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rhymes. Right, I'll now move on to the licensee, I think.
Oh, hang on,
Sorry.
Chair, through you. We should probably hear from all the applicants first, because they
that's
are
further
here
down the list. Okay, fine. That's
fine. It's because they're applicants and not speakers under a representation,
Gotcha.
if that makes sense.
Thank you. So the other applicants are Mary Kenny. Would you like to say anything? Thank you, Rachel. Is Mary Kenny here?
I am here. Yeah, so I'm a resident behind the Swan pub as well. And one of the reasons why I'm here is just to listen in and also to ask questions to understand the conditions of the license that has been provided to the Swan Club as well. And as Dan has already said earlier, there was some noise last year, and that has reduced this year as well. So just to be able to understand what the plan for the bus is, and also the back garden, because there are a lot of, I think there's a storage tank that was just placed directly behind our garden, just to be able to understand what the purpose of those things are. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Kenny. I'm not quite sure whether it's appropriate to ask questions of each person as they speak, or whether it will keep them to the end. What do you think, Sarah? Okay. Yeah, I think. Okay. Right, Kevin Schubert. Are you there? Apparently not. Heather Lazier, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to get off mute the first time, so maybe that's an issue Kevin might be having as well.
You can always come in
so-
at the end.
So I do have the 2 statements from the neighbours. I can start with those, if that would be useful. Okay. Let me just open in my email.
Can you please clarify who they're from when you make
Sure.
the statements?
Sure. So the first one is from Jane Cant. She says that although she's not directly affected by the pub noise where she lives, 'cause she's further into our estate, it can certainly be heard during the summer months when I have the windows open. The proposals for a stage and using the bus as a bar can only raise the noise level significantly for all residents. The Swan is surrounded by houses on all sides, and surely this should be a major factor when considering these requests. I accept that the Swan plays a significant role in the community, but surely what is permitted by Wokingham Council must be measured against what is best for the whole community of 3 Mile Cross. So that's her statement.
Thank you.
Then I also have from Sarah Codling. Okay. She said she wanted to attend the meeting, but she had some issues with the link and then a meeting ran over. She says that she wants to oppose should there be any submitted plans for the Swan Pub on the grounds of a detrimental impact it will have on the local community. Since reopening, it's been clear that the management are dismissive of the well-being and safety of local residents. Outdoor events are situated unreasonably close to private residences, are unacceptably loud, and continue day and night. The antisocial behavior of patrons, such as climbing neighboring fences, throwing glasses into neighboring properties, screaming, shouting abuse, and arguing, all go unchallenged. I welcomed the reopening of the Swan as a local village pub, which served its local community and would support it to be a profitable concern. In speaking to management of other local pubs in Shinfield, Spencerswood, and Swallowfield, it's clear that they're able to run successful, profitable community businesses in harmony and with the patronage of their local residents. By offering a comfortable place to meet, drink, and eat, and without the need for the type of excessively noisy, antisocial outdoor events proposed by the Swan. And then it says, this is a small local pub surrounded and in close proximity to private dwellings. Any future, sorry, let me just scroll down. Any proposals currently submitted or submitted in future that are not in keeping with the benefits and welfare of the surrounding community should be rejected. So that was from Sarah Codling. Just to add then from my own perspective, I think we've shared that there's been improvement this summer, and that's been very welcome. I think Charlotte did make some mention about music not going on late, and I think this summer's event, which was the ska band, in fact didn't, and that was very well received. I think last year there was a heavy metal band that played outside, and that did go past 11 o'clock. And calls were made to the staff on site to ask them to please ensure that because it was past 11, that the heavy metal band stopped. I think there was also issues with DJs last summer who were outside, and there was quite a bit of shouting over the microphone. Now, those events did happen during the daytime hours, but they were shouting into the microphone sort of all day long. So that again was last year, and so if this year is an example of an improvement, then I think that that's very welcome. I think Mr. Dursley talked about glass and glass being used. I did see, or I could hear myself, and again, this is prior to the bus being positioned in the garden. So I think again, to the publicans' suggestion that this is only being raised as a result of the bus is unfair. There was glass that was thrown by children onto the fence in the pub itself, right? So there was J2O bottles and such that was being thrown against the fence. I believe that impacted those on all 3 sides of that pub garden. So we did see glass being thrown in the pub and broken in the pub, as well as being thrown over the fences into the neighboring properties. So just to add to that. And I think beyond that, just there was a question, I think, Pauline, that you, or Kieran asked about, what it is that we would like. So just speaking from my own behalf, I think, again, understanding what the position and the purpose of the bus is going forward is very important. I think having a clear understanding or a limitation of the outdoor amplified music in the evenings, given the issues that we've had, given the antisocial behavior, the noise, et cetera, would be very useful. And beyond that, I think I'd really welcome the publican to work more harmoniously with us and proactively with us in terms of sharing in advance when she may wish to have, bands on site or whatever, that would give us an opportunity to make alternative plans. If she wants to have someone here on a Saturday, that's fine. I understand, and they're going to be playing until 6 p.m. I perfectly get that. But perhaps if she could work with us a little bit more proactively, so I could arrange to not be here that day instead of making plans and then having, no use of my outdoor garden would be very useful. So those are just some of the things I think would be very welcome and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions for the other what's the word, applicants? Beth, no? Rebecca, no? Anybody else? No, I'll then, sorry. Sorry, who? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that one. Go on.
That's all right. Yeah, you had me down as an applicant. I did
yeah.
contact the antisocial.
You did say something, I thought, earlier.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
we have had Bill, Lucian.
Yeah.
We had Bill before Mary.
Give us a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No. What I was going to say was, obviously, having spoken to Dan on this meeting, he's answered some questions for me. But yes, we have experienced antisocial behaviour, and we did contact the team because we have had balls flying over, and we have had a couple of broken lamps. I know children play. I know things happen. That wasn't really a major issue to me. The major issue is what we're discussing now, is the future with the bus and the garden, what's going on to move forward with it. What plans has Charlotte got with and for the bus? That's where we're all heading. It is clearly an eyesore. It's a far risk, in my view, as an engineer, with the fuel on the tank in the bus. It's only smoking. It's looking over our properties. Our own private area is now not our own private area, which we obviously paid to stay in the country to do. So it's good that we've opened these things up at this stage and we're all talking together about it. But we do need to move forward. And obviously, Charlotte, you've got to run your business. We appreciate that. But what we need to know as residents is where we're going forward with the bus. Because it is an eyesore and it is causing mental anguish to a lot of families in the village.
Thank you, Mr. Rhymes.
Thank you.
Anybody got any questions for anybody, including Mr. Rhymes? I apologise for missing you out early.
Sorry.
No. Right. In that case, we'll ask the licensee to speak.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I will start with, obviously, the bus is the major contention here, and I will stand by my earlier question / statement that this would not be happening if I had paid for the plants to go into Daniel Dursley's garden. I've had no one else come to the pub and raise issues. You've all called the council or the police, but I've had no one else come into the pub or make contact with me about these issues whatsoever. Now, when the council have come in, or of the police when they were called also, I've had very productive conversations with them, because I'm not the devil incarnate here. I'm not trying to ruin everyone's mental health. In fact, if you look at everyone around in this meeting, probably the worst person's mental health has been issued is mine because of all of this. And I'm just trying to run a business. I'm not a brewery. I'm independent. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's lives. But if we're talking mental health, let's not just think that it's just you guys that have been affected. But you don't all come to me. I've had one person asking for plants, didn't get them, so this has happened. I would happily speak to each and every member of this community, because I was born and raised in this community, if they came round and spoke to me, but that hasn't. The council come round, and I've worked closely with the council.
Charlotte, could I just, I'm so, my apologies for interrupting. It's obviously quite passionate. You're touching on some real issues there, but it's just a matter of order, Chair. We do have, although the residents have not made representation because they're applicants, we do have a representation which is from our council ASB officer. It may be better
will get to that in due course. Yeah.
It may be better to hear in terms of your order, Chair, to hear the representations and then from the license holder. Otherwise,
I'd
the
like
license
to let
holder
the
would
license holder speak first, and then she can ask questions of the ASB officer. And
but
sorry, that's the order I'd like to do it in. So let the licensee finish first, Kira.
So
I understand what you're saying. Go.
Sorry. Again, the reason it is much busier and louder this year and last year is because the pub was closed for 5 years, and we also had COVID. I'm not being sarcastic when I bring that up, but of course, having a closed pub opposed to an open pub the noise levels are going to raise considerably. We have live DJs out in the garden area in the summer. They have stopped this year. They've moved into a soundproofed outside function area that has a bar that's covered in my license. That is covered till 1 a.m. We try to close it at 12. It's not every weekend, and I do monitor that because it's staffed by bartenders. The back garden, apart from this one event, has not had events up there. It's had children playing up there. It's had them playing football. It's had them playing cricket, and I apologise if any balls went over the fence. I do apologise for that. Again, if any bottles have been taken up, they've been bought from the pub, but it was, as someone said, it was a J2O. I apologise for that. And if someone had come round, I would have cleaned up the mess and sorted that out straight away. But no one has come round. The use of glassware in the back garden, that would never be something that I would condone. Of course, you don't have glassware in the back garden, and if we were using it consistently, and if that does happen next year after I file the right applications, of course, then there would be no glassware, and it would be curbed at a certain amount of time, because again, I'm not here to cause anyone any issues. I'm just trying to run a pub, and I'm not unreasonable. There was one event that finished at 6. It was all plastic glasses out there, plastic glassware, that's what it's called, but plastic cups. There was purchased from inside the pub. So to my knowledge, I've not broken any licensing laws in that respect. And again, it was done at 6 o'clock. It was done at 6 o'clock. The reason for the bus, I will be perfectly honest with you, I didn't know that was arriving. I didn't buy it. I was given it as a gift. So when it arrived on that first couple of days, of course, you've got a double-decker bus in the garden. Children are going to be excited when it arrives. It had just come from Lambs Lane School, where children were on it every single day, having classes and whatnot. But it arrived. I then had this bus that I needed to decide what to do. I have no problem sitting around with people because, again, I know a double-decker bus is not everyone's cup of tea. The upstairs windows will be blacked out. I've started to do that, but it's also been locked. So currently it's used for storage for my furniture. It is locked. It had one stage built when this one band played, and then the stage remained there, but not to be used, but it remained there just because the scaffolding company didn't get round to take it down. It is now gone. It is now gone. But the bus, in terms of what it's being used for now, is just a storage area for my furniture, and it's locked. The proposed goal for it has not been fully decided. If it was if it were to turn into sort of a summertime bar that was used just to serve drinks out of it, then of course that would be another conversation with the licensing team about what the regulations and the changes or the amendments to the premises license would be. I know that, the council knows that, that will go forward. The bus would be brought forward to the main gate, so it probably you wouldn't be able to be really seen by the neighbours. But as of now, as of where we stand now, it is currently storing my furniture. That's all it's doing. That's all it's doing. So that's, and again, I'm sure I'll be open to lots more conversations with, and I welcome lots more conversations with neighbours about what will happen with the bus, if indeed anything will happen with the bus, or I have to get rid of it. But what's happening now, and in terms of my licensing now, the bus is being used to store furniture. I've locked it. I blacked out the windows. No one has access to it. The gate is permanently locked. The only people that have access to it are when the gardener goes in to tidy up the grass area. In terms of people throwing things over the fence, that also works both ways, because when I opened the pub, the amount of debris and rubbish that was thrown from other people's gardens over to the fence that I cleared up, you know, so that happens both ways. But again, I didn't know that any of that had happened. So if I'd have known about that, I'd have come and rectify it. I used to allow the church school next door, because they don't have a play area, to play football supervised by the teachers on my back garden. I've now had to stop that because apparently that's affecting people's mental health also. Doesn't matter the kids' mental health, but you know, the people that surround the garden. So I've had to stop that. Now no one has access to that. It has got fences up, it's got locked, and it has signs up to say, please don't enter here. There's signs up on the bus saying, please don't enter. So that garden effectively is not being used whatsoever. Would I like it to be used next summer? Absolutely, absolutely. I would like a children's play area put in there. I would like possibly a dog play area put in there. But again, that would all be after conversations with the council. But as of now, where it stands, it is just a bit of an elaborate storage area that I'll move forward.
Thank you, Charlotte. So firstly, committee questions for Charlotte. Rebecca.
Hi, Charlotte. You mentioned that you've used an outdoor area, which you said you got a separate covered area with a separate bar.
Yeah.
I can't see it on the plans.
It will
which
be
is for your license.
Yeah, so it's always been here. It's part of the listed building, so it's part of it's at the side. I have the plans up here, but my iPad is being particularly troublesome. So there's a side building.
Because what we've got is a downstairs plan where I can see a second bar area, and then the upstairs plan. You've got a main bar, a pub.
Bear with me.
A second bar. Yeah.
Do you want to flick it up, Rebecca, and then Charlotte can tell us where it is?
Yeah.
You can share it if she can't.
It's page 17 in the pack. Sorry, I don't know how, because I'm looking at it on my where I'm not logged in.
Okay, sorry,
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Screen. Yeah.
Fine, page 17.
Okay, thank you.
I've done it now.
Yeah, so it's just the separate area that you say where you said you've got an outside bar. I just wondered where that is.
I don't think it's outside anymore,Rebecca. I think that's what she was saying.
Yeah.
It's all fully closed and soundproofed and whatnot. So just outside. I mean, I have access. I'm looking at the plans now, but there should be more. It's where at the side of the pub, you've got the car park and a small gravelled area on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, there is a pre-existing bar that was already here when I got the lease, and now that has been fully enclosed.
So Kieran, can you? Sorry to stop you, Charlotte. Kieran, can you explain where this bar is and why it isn't on the plan?
Yeah, as in a licensed area of the plan that we've got in our document.
It's not licensed on the plan, so it need a variation to the application for it to be used. Obviously, there's that there's a misunderstanding between the license holder where it's been there, where it's been taken over, and that's not been raised on our inspections. So we wouldn't be a case of taking any historic enforcement action on there, and it's a matter that's unravelled through this subcommittee hearing. But the path now would be that there'd need to be a variation application for the external bar area to be used, other than not storing alcohol in that bar area, and storing the alcohol in the existing plan would be a temporary workaround, or the use of temporary event notices for a period, but it would require a separate application.
Can I ask why on the several visits from the council that this was never raised before, and it was just always said to me that this is part of this premise license?
I'm not sure why it's not been raised before, but as I understand it, they'll be responding to whichever complaints have been made. There may have been attention in the last year around the external noise side of things.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. So I think probably this is outside this application. So Kieran, is it appropriate, Rachel, for us to ask Kieran to write to Charlotte and explain what the situation is, what she's allowed to do, what she isn't allowed to do, and what she needs to do to rectify it?
I think that would be helpful, Chair, because the plan doesn't appear to represent the current licensed area, and it should do.
Well, I think it's the other way around, actually. I think the usage doesn't represent the current licensed area from what Kieran said. But either way, if Kieran's clear about what they can do and what they need to do to rectify the position, that would be helpful. Is that okay, Kieran?
Yeah, that's understood. Thank you.
Right, sorry. Back to questions, Rebecca.
No, that was my main question.
Beth, have you got any questions? Are you there?
Yes, please, Chair, if I may. I'd like to ask if there's anywhere in that area that the bus can be repositioned that is more acceptable, and is the bus actually drivable? And if it stands for a long time, does it remain drivable?
Yeah, so in terms of it's being drivable, it was driven in from Lambs Lane School, which is just down the road. So it's definitely drivable.
Yeah, it's been stood at Lambs Lane for a long time, though.
Yeah, it was stood there for about 10 years. So I presume that's quite a long time, and then it still drove here. So yeah, so that's why it's not a fixed feature. So I don't believe I need to get planning permission for that. Obviously, if I then turn it into a bar, I know that I would have to do that. And of course, I would do everything by the book. It can be moved. I mean, yes, so it can be moved. It can be moved into the car park, but then again, that will raise another set of issues from other people. It can be moved closer to the fences, so it's further away from the surrounding gardens at the back. Therefore, it's further towards my property, and it can be moved. I mean, the long and short of it, yes, it can be moved. Where to, without causing another licensing review, I don't know, but it can 100% be moved.
Thanks, Charlotte. Is that Beth? Have you got any other questions?
No.
I'll call you, Kieran, in a second. I've got a question as well, actually. I think you said that you didn't know it was arriving, it just turned up. It's a very strange thing to do to somebody, to dump a double-decker bus on them without telling them.
Well, I mean, if you knew me more, probably not, because I have quite a lot of oddities in the pub that I collect and do various things with. Obviously, no one's going to go out and buy me a double-decker bus. It was just, well, now it turns out an unfortunate set of events that led us here. But my local school, Lambs Lane, was getting rid of a bus. My partner's sister was the one who put that post up, and between my partner and several members of my staff who know that I would love something like this, and it was my birthday, kind of You know, it's you connect the dots with.
Yeah, I get it.
So what has turned into one of the best birthday presents I've ever had is now turned into a biggest nightmare I've ever had. However, I will say that I don't believe I'm doing anything wrong. Again, I've locked the bus. It's not being used. If I had people up there looking over people's gardens, I would 100% agree that this backlash that I'm getting would be fully expected and warranted. But it's locked. I'm blacking out the windows. I haven't yet decided what to do with it. I'm open to having lots of conversations with people too, but I don't get to have conversations with people. I just get to get council coming round and getting, you know, and then working with them. I don't get to speak to you guys unless it's a licensing review and potentially my whole livelihood being taken away. So, you know, there seems to be a gulf of space in between point A and point B there, where I'm actually left out of, because no one contacts me directly, apart from Mr. Dursley, who did, and I was willing to work with him until it became a bit ostentatious on my behalf to pay £3,000 for just one person's garden. But again, yeah, all I want to do is run a nice community pub, which I believe I have done, and I have brought it back to life. With that life does come noise, unfortunately, and I would try and you know, work with everyone as I can. But again, it's a village pub where people want to come and have fun.
So Charlotte, given that the bus has caused so much trouble for you, what's the objective of having it?
Well, because that end of that garden, when I bought this lease, that was always something that I wanted to develop and turn into more of a space for everyone to use. As I said earlier, I'd ultimately like to get a children's play area, because people keep saying that they would want a children's play area down there, because not many of the pubs around here do. I would like a dog play area down there as well, and outside seats out there. And then when this double-decker bus arrived, a lot of street food fairs have double-decker buses, which are turned into pubs. And then when I say, sorry, not pubs, but bars. And when I say bars, it's literally a hatch, either both sides or one side, where a bartender serves the drinks out of. It's not, I don't envisage people sat upstairs. I don't envisage any of that. That was what it that's what my ideas are leading towards now, and having that outside. But that would just be for summer, and it would be, of course, there'd be restrictions on there.
Okay, great, but, thank you.
We're not, that's not where it is yet. It's just, again, it's a
pipe dream at the moment.
Yeah, it's my furniture.
So, final question from me, and then I'll let Kieran in. I think you did have your hand up, Kieran, did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, hang on a minute. Just one final question. In your understanding and knowledge, when was the last time anybody was actually in the bus, apart from staff members shifting furniture and that sort of stuff? When did anybody last go in to cause nuisance?
The first day that we brought it along, there was children up in the bus, because again, it was quite a big, and there's videos on Facebook, so I'm not trying to hide anything out. Yeah, there were children up, there were children and adults alike. I mean, the adults were more excited about the double-decker bus from the 80s arriving than the kids were. They were up on the top deck, but then again, we locked it that day. Then people from my staff would have gone in to put my furniture in and then take it out. There would have been some adults when the stage went up. They'd have had to have access inside to get certain bits. To my knowledge, no one else has been in there. Now I'm not saying that someone hasn't gone in there without my knowledge. I'm not sure quite how they would, because it has been locked and it hasn't been unlocked.
So when did it arrive?
It arrived on May 6th. or around May 6th or May 7th. I think it was
All right,
on
that's good
my
enough.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so you don't think anybody's been in there from a nuisance point of view since the thing arrived on May 6th or 7th?
I don't believe so. And if we'd have got if it has been the case that there has been, if we'd have had a call at the pub straight away, then we would have gone and sorted it out straight away.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte.
Because, you know, it was locked and that's not for public use.
Yeah. Okay. Kieran.
Okay, so I do have some questions just around the use of the external area and the noise complaints that you've had, but just over the course of the hearing, we understand now that there'll be need for a full variation application for the use of the existing external bar. So we know now that there's likely to be effectively another repeat of a hearing around that for the use of the external bar area. It's not going to be possible to update a plan within a review context. That wouldn't be appropriate. So it does need a new application. We've also got your understanding of decisions around the use of the bus and the use of the outside area, and obviously the scope of how that may play out, which is still relatively unknown. But we do know that if the bus is to be incorporated as a licensable activity or a licensable area, then that will also need a full variation application. As it stands, the bus is not necessarily within the scope of this committee's remit because it's not a licensable activity. There's obviously a bus that exists. And there are some issues that have been raised from residents, but it's not a licensing area, which is why in the original questions that I had related to the points afterwards. So just so that we scope on that, there is absolutely need for another application for the existing bar area. You will then have your own decision to make from your business perspective, whether or not you're making that application just for that external bar area, or you're making an application for that external bar area and the use of a bus or not. But either way, that would need the same sort of application, which is a variation to an existing premises license. You also have the ability to use temporary event notices for temporary, which when I think you did sort of mention about use of sort of food market type stalls area. They're quite often used under temporary event notices. So I appreciate that none of that goes into a question, but it's been an interesting turn through this subcommittee. So if I could just move on to some questions around the noise complaints for external music. How many have you received in the last year? And I'm just keen to understand. There's been a lot of mention in terms of a difference between the summer last year, and there's been reference to heavy metal music and ska music. What's the difference? What's been the difference between last year and this summer? And how are you've mentioned about talking with the council, but how are complaints raised to you, and what management are you taking for the external area, please?
Yeah, so the two issues with the bands I'll answer first because they're possibly the easiest ones. I had a heavy metal band last year, which yes, that was in hindsight not the best idea, and I won't be doing that again, and have not done that again outside. The only other band we had was the ska band, which was in the garden, two very different areas. The ska band went on till 6 p.m. in the summer afternoon. That was not till late. That was not past 11. So I refute that statement that was made earlier that was after 11, because it wasn't. That has been the only event that has been held in that garden area near that bus, which is where this whole review has stemmed from. In terms of what is different from last year to this year, the outside has been soundproofed a lot more. I've had a gravel area that was put in before. That was also a garden area, so I've not done anything to that, just made it look a little prettier. When we had a DJ outside last year in the summer months, again, it all stopped before 11. When I had some complaints made, and again, none have come around really to me. The only person who has really, made their points quite known on many occasions.
So sorry, Charlotte, I don't think it's appropriate to criticize people because they haven't complained to you. I think what we're asking for is complaints. Kieran asked me how I had the complaints come through, and they've come through via the council. There's only been one lady that has actually come through consistently, and that was Mrs. Irwin, that was online earlier on, but I don't know if she's also on here. Her complaints came through a lot of verbal language, calling me the C word. Her son called me the C word a lot of times. She turned the hose pipe on kids in the garden. She also came round and hit kids with a stick. So again,
I did not.
Hang on. Whoa.
Don't keep lying.
So that has been the only, but all the rest have been pretty much going through the council, because if people had come to me, I think.
So how many have there been, Charlotte? I think the question was how many last year versus how many this year?
The council have come around probably about 4 times since I've been opened, and the police have been called once, and that's been about the bus.
And 4 times, how many this year, how many last year?
It's been 2 this year, maybe 2 last year.
Okay.
It's not been a huge amount, and every time I've worked with them, and every time they've come back and said, well, we don't really see you're doing anything wrong. They have never had to stop music. They've never had to move people on. The only thing that they did adjust, and I worked with them, was to say, okay, can we move the DJ maybe to this corner of the garden, see if that works.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kieran, did that answer your question?
It did, but could I just have a little bit of clarity? In terms of the hours for the DJ or the bands, what time are they finishing as it stands now?
The DJ, if it's outside in the summer months, they're done, and inside by 11.
Okay, and then for the bands?
Well, I've only had that one band that went to 11, and I turned that off at 11, and
Right.
I would do a band after 11 again, and the other band was at 6 p.m.
And the other band was 6 p.m. And then going forward, in terms of the plans for the future, you're still planning to have DJ and bands, is that right?
I mean, yeah, if I can, I'm quite like, I've
And the
I'd
DJs.
I'd like this to be a one-stop shop for people to come and see live music, have local live bands on. The Skanksters is a local band. Yes, of course, I would like that.
And is that until 11 p.m. for both?
Well, the live music in the garden, if that was allowed, no, that would be. Again, I'm not unreasonable. I would want that stopped around 9 p.m, 10 p.m. I wouldn't want that going later. The
Right.
DJ would always be 11, because that's just what my premises license stipulated.
I understand. And around the glassware aspects, have you given any consideration? So it appears to be more littering, and there's conversation. I think it's been more around sort of children where they might have had discarded bottles around, and that's the level of vandalism, I suppose. But have you given any consideration in terms of how you might manage that? Would there be like a change in time where you might shift from glassware? Could it be the case that if there's a live music on, that might be polycarbonate, or what?
100%, because that's what it was when the band was. When the Skanksters were on, it was all plastic glasses.
I see.
With and again, it's been mentioned, this is a J2O bottle.
Right.
That's clearly, which is really unfortunate. I'm not saying I'm not making excuses, but that's obviously a child that's been purchased that in the pub and
Right.
taken down.
There's more a one-off type.
In the garden.
Okay.
Then I've got signs up to say that parents should be supervised at all time. But as I said, as it stands now, there are signs everywhere to say no children allowed, no climbing on the bus. There is no one down there. I can manage this, and of course I will. Bartenders, when the bars open outside, the bartenders are there. It is managed. We have a very extensive car park that's very long. I do have CCTV. I have all of that.
Okay.
In terms of being able to, I can't have someone down there 24/7. If anyone's got another solution, I will happily address that. But we do checks, we do walkarounds. But as now the gate is locked, and the garden should not be in use.
The garden's not used at all.
The back garden is not in use at all.
How do they get into the bus if it's locked?
Well, my guys would have got into the bus because I've obviously opened it for them, and for the first day when there was people up there, then you know it was unlocked until we locked it.
So when you've got signs on it saying nobody to climb on it or whatever, if people are climbing on it, you're not aware of people climbing on it? No, okay. Sorry, Kieran. I just
No other questions, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Okay, I've got two applicants with their hands up. Shall I take the gentleman first?
Yeah, that presumably is me. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Daniel. Yeah, I couldn't see. You're too small on the side, and I can't see who it is.
That's all right. Just following up from some of the points that Charlotte had made. I'm slightly confused because obviously she's quite clearly represented that the bus was parked there and locked and nobody except from a staff admin perspective had access to the bus. But it was my understanding that the council for a long time now had been advising about how access was gained round the back. It's not locked. And also somebody in June smashed the window and there is chairs piled up at the front of it where they're climbing in and out. It's completely infactual that you can't have access. That's where these complaints are coming from. And whilst I certainly do welcome, from what I understand, the signs have been put up, they were put up after the consultation period began. So there's been no proactive nature where these issues have been managed by the pub whatsoever. And when I had feedback from the ASB, they advised her of all of this. So whilst what she might be telling you is partially true, it's not accurate. That bus.
Sorry, what's your question, Mr. Dursley?
It was simply stated, I was trying to date the committee that the bus isn't locked and it's not non-accessible. It's being accessible throughout the whole time.
The question for the licensee is, how do you consider?
I mean, I can, if this was movable, I can take this down and show you it's locked. So, you know.
Sorry, wait, let her answer.
Yeah.
It's locked, and when the council came round, they saw it was locked because I had to go and get the key. I had to go and get the key to let them in. There has been, again, there's been a slight smashed window, which is being fixed. But again, it's been locked. So I'm either infactual or I'm partially true, or I'm partially correct. I can't be one. I'm either infactual or I'm partially correct. So let's maybe pick a lane for that one.
Can you just address the question about furniture outside that people are using to climb on to get onto the bus?
There's furniture, as I said, it's been used to store furniture.
But that's inside. What about outside?
So when I think he's talking about the stage that was out, which is now gone.
Okay.
I also
Sorry.
I also have fairground rides, which are going to be turned into big planters, which are situated at the back of the bus.
Okay.
So sorry, can I just ask you a question related to this topic?
No, it's not. No, I'll call you in a second. Sorry, I'll just finish with Mr. Dursley.
Okay. The statement made by you, Charlotte, seems not true. The access has been. People have been able to break into that bus since it was put there, and that has been a regular occurrence through the driver's cabin and this chair that was put there. The window was smashed in June, which has also not been fixed. And so in terms of Pauline was asking about the furniture, there is a massive amount of furniture just being dumped behind the bus. So if anybody's understanding of how are they getting in, they're taking the furniture that's dumped behind the bus, moving it around the bus, and then climbing into it. Nothing
you,
to do
Mr.
with the
Dursley.
stage. Nothing to do with the stage.
Can I address that? The furniture behind the bus, EHO advised me to move all of the furniture behind the bus and cordon it off. That's why that's back there. It isn't furniture really. It is again the fairground rides, which are teacups, which are going to be made into planters, and they are stored behind there. Now at the moment, because it's not being used, and I have locked the gate, and the bus is locked, and then I'm not saying, so it's been broken in continually, has it? The bus has been broken in continually, and yet when this has happened, it's not been brought to my attention. No one's called me on that specific time. Oh, this bus has been broken into constantly. No one's called the police to say this bus has been broken into. No one's called, because no one has come round to me to say that. Now I will do as much as I can with this bus, and I've done as much as I can. It is locked. It is, for someone who's never been into my pub.
Sorry, Charlotte, I don't think that's relevant.
Okay, but it feels like he knows a lot about,
Well, he can probably see the bus. It's closer to him than you.
Not the front doors, he can't.
Okay.
Right. That are locked.
Okay.
I don't want to veer off path here, but
no.
I take objection to everything she's saying. It's all nonsense, but I'm also conscious of time. So I think if when you're ready, I have questions then for the ASB, which
yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Support some of my statements.
Thank you, Mr. Dursley. Lady.
Hi.
Yeah.
So first question, Charlotte, you said the bus is locked, but can I ask you if all the windows are in place now?
No, I'm still waiting for one of the windows that was covered with a sheet that I've now got to get a more secure thing to, but no.
Okay, was it just the one window that has been broken, or have there been multiple broken windows?
One window.
Okay, and when was the window broken?
It was a while ago, and it still needs to get it fixed.
Okay, so presumably someone could access the bus even though it's locked because they could access through the big open window. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You also said that you have CCTV. Does your CCTV show you behind the bus or just up to and in front of the bus?
It's just up to the bus.
Okay, so you can't see anything that's happening behind the bus?
No.
Okay. What is the timeline? You said that there were signs put up on the bus and that the bus arrived on the 6th of May. What is the timeline when the signs were put up versus when the bus arrived?
As soon as the council told me to put up the signs, I put them up.
Do you know when abouts that was?
No, I don't.
Okay. And when were the windows blacked out on the bus from when it arrived?
They would have been in the summer.
So it arrived in May, and sometime in the summer, you don't know when is when the windows were blacked out on the top. Right. Okay. Do you acknowledge, I think you acknowledge that you had visits or calls from the council prior to this hearing being called. Is that correct?
Well, yes.
But yet you still assert that the whole reason of the hearing is strictly related to the plants that weren't purchased.
Well, I think we can all ascertain that because the primary point of conversation is the bus. I think many people have said it's the bus, not just me.
No, I'm one here. I'm not saying it's solely the bus. So, okay. So also, were you advised that the issue related to the children playing on the grass, like the school children, were you advised that that was an issue with the residents, or was that an issue with your insurance?
I'm fully insured. It wasn't an issue at all. It was an issue that I stopped it all because of all of these complaints. So I've stopped the local school next door that don't have a grassed area that came to me to ask if their children on their lunch break can use the grassed area to play football so they can expand a bit of energy. If they could use it fully watched over by a teacher, I've now had to stop this. I've now had to say, no, actually you can't use the grassed area to play, children. Sorry about that. Go into your little concrete area because my neighbours don't like it.
So I'll just say I don't have any issue with the school children playing during the day, so that was not an issue that I personally raised. I just wanted to double check one more thing. So are you suggesting that it's the residents' responsibility to come speak to you?
If you have an issue, I think you probably it should be the first port of call, yes.
Okay. And you said that it was only one resident that raised an issue, and yet you've also said that you engaged with 2 residents here both Mr. Dursley and Maureen, I think, who's also a neighbour.
Two. No, that's the two.
Okay.
There wasn't two extra. That's the two.
Okay, no, you had said only one person had been round, so just checking if it was one or two. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. Is there any other questions? Right, thank you. We will now go on to the responsible authorities. So can I ask the ASB officer to speak and introduce himself?
Yeah, morning, Chair. Morning, everybody. My name is Chris Long from the Antisocial Behaviour Team at Wokingham Borough Council. Part of our remit is to investigate statutory nuisance. Shall I just cover off a synopsis of our actions over this time?
Yeah.
Between June the 25th, 2024 and the 20th of October 2024, the ASB team received 12 complaints of noise nuisance in relation to the Swan Public House. 8 of those complaints were in relation to the volume of music during licensed hours, and 4 were of noise nuisance coming from people, and particularly outside of licensed hours. One of the complaints was of public nuisance, and that being a patron urinating outside the premise at the front of the premise. During this time, to investigate a potential statutory noise nuisance, the ASB team conducted 9 noise monitoring inspections. These were conducted out of hours, late on Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, and also Sunday lunchtimes. The ASB team also directly addressed these concerns with the licensee. As we always would, we would look at the public nuisance aspect of a licence and try and address any concerns directly with the licensee to try and find some resolution. As we did this, the licensee moved some of the areas where music was being held and took some other mitigating measures. And we felt as a result, between October 24 and August 24, we only received 2 further complaints regarding noise nuisance.
Sorry, is that October 24 and August 25?
Sorry, October 24 and August 24, Chair. Sorry, that should be 25, yes, sorry, stand corrected.
Thank you.
On the 11th of May 2025, we received a complaint in relation to the double-decker bus that was parked in the rear of the premises. I've subsequently attended, also my colleague Kate Warren from the ASB team has attended. We attached some pictures. They're exhibits CCL1, CCL2 and CCL3. They're on the information pack. And you can clearly see where the bus is parked and located within the premise. Since the arrival of the bus, we've directly received 5 complaints in May and June of 2025. And those complaints related to concerns of privacy with the bus overlooking houses and potential light and noise nuisance. One of the complaints was that was a safety complaint regarding children being able to access the bus. We conducted a site inspection and again liaised with the licensee concerning the bus. Obviously, the ASB team can only look at the evidence in front of them, and at that time, because the bus wasn't in use, it wasn't a source of noise nuisance or light nuisance. There were no lights inside the bus, and we didn't feel its position in the garden was affecting light to the surrounding properties to an extent that it would be a statutory nuisance. We obviously also consulted our planning department in relation to the bus physically being in that location, and we took their expert advice that they considered it what's called a chattel, in that planning permission wasn't required for the bus at that time. I think they did advise that future use of the bus would require planning permission, as well as obviously licensing variations. Throughout that time, we've liaised with various residents and the licensee to try and resolve some of these issues. Our environmental enforcement health and safety team have also attended. And as was mentioned, signage has been placed around the rear garden, particularly advising that it's private and that children should not be there without appropriate adults.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it, really. Yeah, that's our
Thank you.
actions.
Any other committee got any questions for Mr. Long?
No, I don't. Thanks, Chair.
No. You got any, Beth? No, no questions.
No, thank you.
I've just got one question about the planning permission comment that you made. What you're saying, I think of what you said, and maybe I'm paraphrasing it, is that they don't require planning permission unless they intend to use it for something other than being parked in the garden. Is that correct?
It's, yeah, so obviously I'm not an expert in planning, but I took this from the planning manager. So he said at this time it doesn't require planning permission. That would be under review if it was to remain there for a longer period, if it can't be moved, and also if the intended use was changed.
Okay, so it would be required permission for change of use. Okay.
Yes.
Use changed for longer period. And is that not moved or not movable?
So
don't let me put you on the spot for planning advice if you don't want it. That's fine.
I'm not. We did query this extensively, and Kate did as well. And we were just advised that this word that was not known to me, it's a chattel at this time, but it will be under review.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Has anybody else got any questions for Chris? Yes, Mr. Pursley?
Yeah, hi, Chris. I just wanted to clarify in terms of your report, where I had sent through at different points and I was advised other people have. Have you listed all the interactions coming into the ASB team relating to the Swan on your report?
No, so this is just a summary of our actions to the chair and to everybody here today. It's not, obviously, yourself, Mr. Durdsley, I probably had, I don't know, 20, 30 interactions with you. No, that they're not all listed on this report.
Anything else? Anybody else? Sorry, Chris, just one question from me. I know I'm out of order. Have you had any complaints about people being in the bus at all since it was locked?
No, so the initial complaints about people being in the bus were when it first arrived. I think subsequently to us raising it with the licensee, I think we may have had one further complaint about children being in there, but nothing recent.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions for Chris? I saw a hand flash up, but it flashed back down again.
Sorry, it's me,
Rebecca. Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, because I've been looking at it. This might not, sorry, Chris, put you under pressure. This chattel thing is a movable personal property. So does this bus have to be roadworthy? Where do we legally stand with this? Or is this really a planning thing? Because, you know, I'm not sure, is a bus taxed? Is it insured? Is it, you know, That's what a chattel is. I've just had a quick look at the definition. It's a movable personal property. So that indicates that it should be roadworthy.
So I think from a planning side, having spoken, it just has to be movable. Once it entered the public highway and there were other offences, that would be outside of that scope.
What, movable within the plot of land?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay.
Is that you, Heather?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, Chris. We're asking you questions you may not know the answers to, but just in terms of, so do we know how it's determined or tested about the movability of the bus, or if the erection of a stage to the front of it, even if that stage is also movable, changes anything in relation to the use of it?
So it's difficult. I can't answer detailed planning questions, unfortunately. We've made a representation to the committee in terms of our work, which is statutory nuisance. Planning haven't made a representation or given any further information. So I just unfortunately can't answer those kind of detailed planning questions.
Anybody else for any questions? Beth?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like actually to know a bit more about the bus and how it becomes a shuttle, that sort of size, and what its future is, and in planning what its legal status is. And obviously we don't have that information at this meeting. I wonder if we should adjourn to get it, or whether we could find out afterwards.
I think it probably, I mean, I'll take advice from officers, yeah, but I think we can probably find out afterwards. I think that should be one of the things that we do during the stage of deliberation before we make a decision.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it makes any difference to the evidence taking. No. I don't know. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Is that all right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's all right. Right, anybody else for any questions for Chris? Yeah, sorry, Kieran.
I didn't have any questions, but it's just on the you obviously you'll take your own advice from your legal advisor in your own deliberations, but just for the purposes of transparency, for those present have made application here, and residents that'll be viewing this, there are parallel regulation between licensing and planning, and where planning or police or whoever may make representation, they can make representation, and that can come before the committee. This is a review application by residents, and for the review application, it relates to the Licensing Act. The Licensing Act covers licensable activities, which is music, late night refreshment, and the sale of alcohol. So the scope of the meeting itself and the governance aspect and the regulation aspect to it all is for the licensable activity. So if there are matters around planning, it's not necessarily the scope of the subcommittee, although it clearly raises interest and it's a matter of discussion. And what's quite strongly come through in this meeting is the bus itself. In terms of the scope of your own role, members, it's around the licensable activities and not. Despite it's very obvious that the undercurrent is issues around the bus, it's not. But then also, we also have to respect that the frame of the meeting itself. This is not an application to vary a license to then include the use of a bus. That's not what we're trying. That may come. Just in terms of the order as well, you may be following this or not, but it should, obviously the licensee may ask questions of the ASB officer, but it should also be, if she chooses to, she should be given the ability to make a statement if she has anything to add before the,
Yes,
the summary.
yeah, it's,
Okay,
it's on the
that's fine.
list. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Thanks, Kieran. And a question for you, actually, Kieran. Then, so if anybody has planning issues, they can actually go direct to the planning department, so they could contact planning enforcement.
They can, and our ASB officers, as Mr. Long has put it, he's made those attempts in internally, and we've had a response through, and what our understanding, or what our ASB officers' understanding is that that at this stage, at this point, the planning application is not required, but they'll keep it under review because, as we're all aware, there may be changes to the use of this bus, or there may not.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Right. So, has anybody else got questions for the ASB team? Are there any other responsible authorities that need to say something? No. Okay. So, has anybody got any questions for anybody, any other party here, before we go on to the applicant being able to respond? That looks like a no. So I'd like to allow the applicant to respond to any comments that have been made throughout the whole hearing. Sorry, Kieran.
So we just in matters of order, we've Charlotte should be able to respond to what she's heard from the ASB officer, but then
Okay.
at the end you'll then have to do the summing up. So allow the applicants and the respondent to do a summing up, and then finish with Charlotte. So Charlotte may not want to speak now, but she should be given the opportunity to on the basis of what she's heard.
She's got the opportunity to speak, of course. I just can't see any summing up from Charlotte in the order because she's not the applicant.
That's right.
So Charlotte can ask questions now, but she's not the applicant, so the applicant gets to sum up, I think. Is that right? Legal?
Charlotte will have the last.
Are you sure? Can I have a legal view on that, please?
Yeah.
Let me just check. I think as respondent, she should have. I'm just trying to think, because if she were applicant, I think as respondent she would have the last say.
Yeah, that's not what it says on the order. In point 17, it says the applicant will be given the response, and then it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not trying to muzzle her at all. I just want to make sure I follow the right process.
Give me a second, and I will just check that because I haven't seen your order.
I mean, she's very welcome to speak. I'm not trying to stop her.
It's just the 2 points in terms of we've got a point where we've now heard the representation from ASB officer, and if Charlotte wishes to make any statements in response to that, then should have the opportunity to. But then also, as you wrap up the meeting, we need to go through the summing up in whatever the order the summing up is.
So the reason I'm questioning,
Kieran.
The reason I'm questioning is if you look at the order, this is unusual in that the licensee is not the applicant, so therefore I think the applicant gets the last say, according to the order I've got sitting in front of me.
That's right.
So anyway, never mind.
This
Charlotte,
shouldn't be the
like
summing up just yet.
anything?
Yeah.
You muted, Charlotte. Go on.
No, I think I've said pretty much. I will go back to Chris. So obviously, I think I did meet. Yeah, I met you, and we had a long conversation. And I would just like to clarify: every time I've had a visit to site and things have been put to me to what I can address and do, I've done straight away. So I just want to say that again, my only thing to add to this is that I don't want to be sat here again in the next couple of months when something else has arisen that has wound people up. I do want to just have a harmonious existence with neighbours, but so I have done everything that the council have asked me to do.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I don't believe, as Kieran has said, I don't believe I've broken any licensing laws.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. That's helpful. Applicant, which is Mr. Dursley.
Hi. Yeah, I think just to sum up that, because so much detail has been shared today, and that the bus specifically has taken a lot of that time, the application for review has come about because of the areas of licensing that I think had failed to be managed appropriately. The bus is a later addition, has exacerbated the overall issues. I fully accept that this year some progress has been made in terms of noise complaints and other antisocial behaviour, and it does need to be recognised that Charlotte has proactively worked with the council. My concern is, and validating her point about being back here in 2 months, the current conditions are so open to interpretation any way that similarly her or whoever runs the business see fit. These issues will be reoccurring. I think looking at the location of the business, looking at the proximity to public houses and gardens, there needs to be an amendment to some of these conditions so that people are able to use their gardens and be able to live in peace and harmony. And I think if those conditions can be amended and made, everybody's going to have a much more clearer picture as to what's going to be happening, and be able to have a checklist to be able to confirm that they are in line with the conditions that have been issued.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dursley. Right. Are there any other questions from the subcommittee?
No.
Beth?
No, thank you, Chair.
So have any other parties got any relevant points that have not been covered in the hearing? And sum up. Anything not covered? Is everybody satisfied we've covered everything? I hear nothing, so that sounds like good. And anybody, any summing up now? So would anybody like to sum up? I think we've probably already done that to a large extent. I see no hands. Okay. Can I thank everybody for attending the hearing? We're going to go away and discuss it and determine the application, and the decision will be notified in writing to all parties once we've reached a decision. Thank you for attending. And